I asked you for questions. You did not disappoint. Today, I am sharing honest answers behind your biggest questions, Adam Savage style. You asked, I'm answering, even the awkward ones. And this video is brought to us by Squarespace. We're gonna start off with questions from my Patreon members first. Andrew asked, what motivated you to start making videos for YouTube? And did you always want/intend for it to become your job? When I started woodworking about 15 years ago, I didn't know being a YouTuber was a thing, but I was working on websites that I was hoping would take off and allow me to quit my job and make money from these websites. One was kind of like a Yelp before Yelp was a thing, except mine was I was gonna make a Yelp for each particular city. Then Yelp came along and was like, oh, it's just a worldwide thing. I always wanted to work for myself, but then when I got into woodworking and I started watching Woodworking for Mere Mortals and The Wood Whisperer, I became kind of obsessed with YouTube woodworking, and there wasn't many people doing it at that time. And so I just started to document my progress, and then it kind of took off because of my branding. I was called the Drunken Woodworker at the time. I worked for marketing agencies, so I knew how to market myself and make me look professional, and it just took off. Are you still working on the Airbnb? The answer is yes. It is taking a lot longer than I ever would imagine. It's a lot harder than I ever would have imagined, and a lot more money than I ever would have imagined. There's some updates, and we're going to make a dedicated video about that soon. Since you just changed the way you do your videos, is there any other large changes we can expect? By the way, I like the new style. Thank you. I am enjoying the new style too. I want to, as I'm trying to get more creative and artsy in my projects, I also want to get more creative and artsy in the videos and make them look beautiful. So every once in a while, every so many years, I kind of change things up, and it's like rearranging your living room. It feels like a new house when you walk into your living room after rearranging it, and it makes it exciting. So that I like changing it up for me. So as far as future big changes, I don't see anything else coming. It's very jarring when you make a big change all at once, and it turns a lot of people off because familiarity is a big thing with YouTube videos. You watch a certain creator because you like the way they do something. What's the one shop tool you would suggest really putting money into and not cheaping out on? For me, it would be the table saw, hands down. It's the tool that I use most. Get a table saw that's rock steady. Get a table saw that has the safety features that you want. Get a table saw that you're going to enjoy using. My brother Daniel just suggested the planer because he thinks it can save you a lot of money since you don't have to buy wood that's already planed down. And I agree with that. I think it's going to be different for everybody, and we can have a conversation about that down below. Do you listen to music while making things? If so, what are you listening to lately? I don't actually listen to that much music while working because we're filming. When I do listen to music while woodworking, it's something that I am familiar with. I like familiarity, and I listen to a lot of 90s hip hop. Why don't you use more hand tools? That's a fair question. I actually own a decent amount of hand tools, and when I got started in woodworking, hand tool woodworking looked really cool, and I thought I was going to really enjoy it, and so I invested the money into some decent hand tools. I rarely use them, and one of the reasons is, I'll just say it, using hand tools is more of a skill. I think any Yahoo can set the fence on a table saw and run a board through it. But to cut that by hand and then to join it by hand, that's a dang skill. And I need to work on that more. A lot of times I'm looking for the least amount of friction to get to the end point because I am so about the design and the piece living in its final home. I'm pretty sure when I get older and I slow down that I am going to enjoy the process a little bit more, and I could see myself using a lot more hand tools because, one, much safer. You don't have a saw blade spinning at 500 miles per hour trying to chop off your fingers, and hand tools don't create fine dust. You've inspired me multiple times, but damn, you make it look so easy. I always get the, what if I screw it up and overthink it and get paralyzed with doubt? There is no doubt that I also get paralyzed. I understand what you're talking about here. With me is I usually have sponsor obligations every month. I have to make videos. So there is no choice. And so if you can find a way to force yourself to make the project, give yourself a due date or get some clients or whatever, you'll learn to get past that. There's other things that I deal with where I start so many projects and I don't finish them. I've got at least 4 projects started right now in the closet that I need to work on. The Casio keyboard. We found this kid's Casio keyboard at the Goodwill. I started to implement a tube amplifier into it with drive controls, and as well as a few extra guitar pedals built into it. And I was going to rebuild the face and get rid of all of the plastic. I hit a roadblock. I got stuck. I'm gonna come back to it, but I got stuck. I started an acoustic guitar, working on the mold so I could bend the wood, got stuck. This is one, we got really far on this one. We found this old suitcase at the antique store and we were turning it into a shelving unit. This would turn into a drawer. Maybe this goes on the face. So that's a drawer. Got stuck. Kumiko project, I got started with that. My chisels got dull. I haven't sharpened them yet. Got stuck. This guy, this would be super awesome and cool, is one of these old science fair 151 electronics projects. This is my shelf of potential. There is a VCR right here that I want to make a wood face for. I start so many projects and don't finish them. Don't feel bad if you do the same. Have you been approached by any of the major finish manufacturers to adopt your product and take it to the next level? No, nobody has reached out to me. It's probably too darn expensive to make because of all the natural ingredients. If you don't know, I developed a super safe finish that I've been using on all my projects for the past year. I don't sell it publicly because I hate shipping, but I do sell it to Patreon members at cost. And at cost is pretty darn expensive. Do I get any special lenses for my glasses? Yes, there's some sort of like anti-shatter thing. And then the second part of his question is, what's the one tool or object in your shop that nobody ever sees on camera but makes your shop life so much easier? That has to be, without a doubt, my belt sander. That is a luxury tool. It helps with when I'm making veneers, get them down to their final thickness. It helps sanding wide boards quickly. I just don't enjoy sanding. And so that's why I have so many damn sanders. What shop tool do you hate the most, but still use because of the function it provides? The router. I freaking hate the router. It's loud, it's dangerous, it's messy. I hate the router so much. What would it take to finally get you to eat a taco? So if you don't know, I'm 50 years old and I've never had a taco in my life. And for whatever reason, that blows people's minds. I said a couple times, I will eat a taco once we hit 1 million subscribers. What tool have you bought yourself was the biggest disappointment when you started using it? This guy, the Shaper Origin. This thing is absolutely amazing. It is basically a handheld CNC router that scans what you're working on. Let's say you're cutting out a star on a piece of plywood, and basically all you got to do is get close to the line and the router bit will move to only cut on the line because it's scanning the surface. It's pretty incredible. I thought, since I love using digital tools, I purchased this with my own money that I made by selling drugs. I purchased this thinking I was going to use this in where I wouldn't be able to use a regular CNC. Like, let's say I make a table and now I want to cut something out on the table. Well, I can't take the table to the CNC. I would just use this. Truth is, I never have. It's been 2 years since I've even tried using this. I think I need to make a video on this again, to force myself to use it, to see if I should sell it or if I should keep it. What do you wish you'd known started out that you know now? What would you do over again? Could be from the pure woodworking side, could also be from the content creator influencer side, or even both. So when I first started out, it was like small little crafty projects. There wasn't many YouTube woodworkers doing it. And so things just kind of took off. And then now that there are hundreds of people making woodworking videos, I wish I would have defined what I want to make and my style earlier on. And I think I'm still working on that. I look at some of my old, you should always look at your old projects and your old videos or whatever you've done in the past and thought, I could have done better. You should always be improving, right? But when I look at some of my old videos, I was like, that's not even me in that video. That's someone else. That's me pretending to be somebody else on camera. And so I regret that a little bit. I think I'm always evolving and always changing. Yeah, and I think that hurt me a lot. Like, a lot of my friends, we all started at the same time, and their channels are way bigger than mine. And I think it's because I didn't define who I was. But that's okay. Sometimes you're 50 years old and you're still trying to figure out who you are. What podcast would you like to be a guest on? It's got to be Rick Rubin. This is a good one. If you could only use low quality tools / materials or only listen to bad music, which would you do? I would much rather use only low quality tools and materials. A good craftsman can use any tool and material that is given to them. There's no room for bad music in my life. As much as you love walnut, is there a possibility that another type of wood could become your favorite? No. Jonathan, who runs my Discord, love you buddy, asks, what inspires you the most today? And hopefully this doesn't sound cheesy or whatever. It's watching a YouTube video that makes me feel good about myself. Sometimes I just come across videos that are so good that it just puts me in a good mood. And that is what really inspires me. It's seeing other people's work that moves me. When I was in a band and I would see another band play, and I would just be blown away. I couldn't wait to get back home to write songs, to play those songs on stage. So seeing other people's work really moves me. Like Ryan Trahan's videos, they just put me in a good mood. Marco, the artist, every time I watch his videos, I just feel good about the world. And I need to figure out how I can transfer that emotion into my videos to make people feel good about themselves. To date, what is your favorite project that makes you smile when you look at it? Usually my favorite project is the one I'm working on, but for some reason, the stereo stand at the rental house, I love that project. It's just such a weird, crazy design that every time I look at it, I'm like, you need to be a little bit more weird and crazy in your projects. You did good on this one. A lot of times I look at a project and I just see the flaws. When I look at that one, I just see good design or crazy design. You might have a different opinion about it. That's okay. I look at it and it gives me the good feels. Jonathan with the multiple questions. He runs my Discord. He can ask all the questions he wants. If you could make videos on anything and not have to worry about money or skill, what would you be doing? And the answer to that is non-functional, purely visual art. You used to be a web developer. I seem to know a lot of web developers who got into woodworking. Why is that? I think there's something like when if you're a web developer, you're a creative person. You are creating something that wasn't there. And part of me got jealous of people that were creating physical things, and I wanted to be part of that. And so I used to be a photographer too, and I wanted to get some of my photos framed, and I just wanted to make my own frame. And that's what got me into woodworking, was framing my photography for an art show. And I don't know why woodworking stuck, but it did. It just spoke to me. It just spoke to my soul. And maybe it has something to do with my grandpa. Maybe it has something to do with my father-in-law. I don't know. I love working with wood. In fact, I just love the act of creation so freaking much. Like every single day, I am working on creating something. It could be music, it could be photography, it could be making videos, it could be woodworking. I'm working on some apps. I'm trying to get better at drawing. I live and breathe every day to be creating. What project has been in the back of your mind haunting you because you just haven't taken the leap to build or design it yet? And I think that project is building an arcade cabinet. I know Bob Claggett from I Like to Make Stuff did this a long time ago, where he talked about building an arcade cabinet for a year and then finally did it and built this amazing arcade cabinet. And I want to do the same thing, but for the rental. But I want to take a different approach to the arcade cabinet. I want to make it look very walnut-y. Is that a word? Daniel, is walnut-y a word?
You made it a word.
I made it a word. And very my style, modern, maybe mid-century modern. But of course, there's some technical issues, which I think there's probably so many YouTube videos and instructions on how to do that. Yeah. So, some projects just grow so big in your head, and as they grow in your head, so does the barrier. I just need to get down and do it. Jonathan with another question. Jonathan, I will answer every question you give me. Which other YouTuber would you most like to collaborate with? And I think right now that is the artist Marco. Marco's videos are, it's a very good low energy. He's an artist. He's an incredible artist. He's not only an incredible artist, but he works very fast. And I just don't understand how he does it. But he will find people on the street and then he will ask to paint their bedroom or an object that they have. And 99% of the people are like, no, stranger, hell no. And every once in a while, somebody will say yes, and then he just blows their minds right off their necks. Collaborations on YouTube are difficult for two reasons. One is it needs to be beneficial to both parties. So you're usually looking for somebody with similar amount of subscribers. He is way, way beyond me in subscribers and views. And two, it has to, there has to be a different skill set that can be shared between each other. Also, I'm not real good at collaborations and I want to get better at it, and I need to do more collaborations. I find myself when I'm collaborating is I either want full control or I want no control and let the other person lead. I need to get better at that middle ground where you're having a back and forth and working. We'll see if Jonathan has any more questions for me later. If art is where you're putting your time and attention, what do you see yourself making? And if I offered you FU money to make something original for me, what would that be? So I have started collecting ideas. I have the potential of having my own gallery show next year, so I'm working towards that. And so I kind of have like 4 categories that I'm working on. I want to take like a shaker table and scale it down to something a little bit smaller, cut off the front 3 inches, put that onto a board and frame that. So you have this like hangable art piece that is a shaker table that has been, you probably know what I mean, but I have other ideas a little bit more interesting than the shaker table, but it's framed artwork that has a 3D-ness to it. Another category I have is phrases. I've been collecting these different phrases and I want to make wooden art and metal art that uses these different phrases and has a 3D effect to them. And then I have another thing where just geometric shapes that play with each other, something that can hang on the wall. And then I think what I'm most excited about is sculpture, something that sits on a pedestal or something that sits on the floor. And then the second part of his question is, if I had FU money, what would I make him? I think it would be really cool to come into your house, measure your floor to ceiling, and make a sculpture that wedges itself between the floor and the ceiling, goes all the way up, touches both, and then kind of spirals down, all made out of wood. It's gonna cost thousands of dollars, but it's gonna be worth hundreds of dollars when I'm done. Do you plan to do more with the second channel? I always plan to do more with the second channel. I just don't have the time. I think I want to do some experimentations with the other channel. I had this idea of taking one of my older videos and then just making a really long form version of that video. No voiceover, no sponsors, nothing but, and no talking. So it's just tools. It's a 45-minute long video of me making something where there's no interruptions, no talking, just start to end. Oh, this is funny. Let's pretend everyone that has ever left a negative comment now has your undivided attention and you get to let it all out, no holds barred. What would that sound like? I hate confrontation so much. I'm the guy, if I order a plain cheeseburger and it has ketchup and mustard on it, instead of sending it back, I just deal with it. What would I say? Be better. You can do better. Where do you see yourself make something in the next 5 years? Man, I hope I'm still making videos. I got to get better with my ideation. Otherwise, I won't be doing this, but I'm going to get better with my ideation. Man, I hope I'm still making videos. Is there another hobby that fascinates you, but you're unlikely to get into due to time, money, etc.? I think that's glass blowing. I live in Toledo, Ohio. It is known as Glass City. There's all kinds of glass blowing and glass artists here in town. I look at that stuff and that just looks so freaking cool. But there are some glass artists here in town that I'm looking to reach out to see if we can collab on a project. Now that you're YouTube famous, what words do you have for your high school bully? Funny thing is, my high school bully also named Dave. Be better. Just be better. I've saved some of the best questions for last. Plus, I'm going to ask you for help on what I can do to mod this table that I got from the thrift store. But first, David, why does your website look so good and work so well on mobile, tablet, and desktop? That is a great question, and thanks to our sponsor, Squarespace, for making that possible. I've answered a couple questions about starting up a business, and I think a big part of that is your online presence. And Squarespace has been a huge part of my online presence for the last 10 years. I was using Squarespace long before they were a sponsor. And like we mentioned earlier, I used to be a web developer. I used to make websites for a living. Now I don't want anything to do with that. Squarespace just makes my life easier because they handle all the front end, the back end, all of the cloud stuff and the applications within the website. They handle all that and I don't have to worry about that. I can focus on the creative stuff. Their templates are absolutely beautiful. I'm using one of their default templates and I just changed up the colors, put in my images, and it looks fantastic. I can sell both digital and physical items. I use Squarespace for my email campaigns, which that's where most of these questions came from. If you wanted a closed community, a password protected site, you can do that. You can import one of their calendars so customers can book time with you. Squarespace has always been easy, but now it's insanely easy to start up a website. You can go in, you answer a few questions, you pick your template, and it just spits out a website for you, and then you just put in your own words and photos. It is that easy. Visit squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, visit squarespace.com/makesomething to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you, Squarespace, for making all of this possible. Thank you to all my Patreon members for those questions. Now we're going to move on to questions from my email subscriber list. Are all YouTubers filthy rich? I'm going to skip this one and answer the same question that's phrased in a more thoughtful way by Chris. Why do you and other YouTubers continue to use tools a weekend woodworker would not have? That's a fair question, and it is something I definitely think about all the time. I started out in my basement. I had to duck between the ceiling joists. I had to clamp things together with dumbbells or whatever I could find. I started out just like everybody else. Eventually, this became my full-time job. And I continued to reinvest in myself. Now, I can't speak for other YouTubers. I can only speak for myself. I don't focus on beginning woodworker and minimal tool projects, because that is not where my passion lies. My passion is creativity and design and problem solving and uniqueness. That is what I think about every day. And I want to make videos that I'm passionate about. I wake up every day with the desire to create something that wasn't there before. All I think about all day, every day is making stuff. And so I am looking for tools to get these ideas out of my head and into the world. I am hoping that you are inspired. I hope you get ideas from what I do. I hope that you pick up on the tips that I give, because I am, even if I'm working on something that's pure art that you would never make yourself, there's still going to be good little golden nuggets in each video that can be applied to any tool that you use. I don't want my videos to be about tools. I want the tools to get me to my vision. I buy tools based on their function, how pleasurable they are to use, and their safety features. I will pay a lot more money for a tool that has more safety features because I do this every day. You can do amazing work with basic tools, and every once in a while I prove that by doing basic tool woodworking projects. I have a couple of videos where I only use a circular saw and a drill, or I only use a jigsaw and a drill. We just made a whole bunch of shop furniture with no shop, outside on the ground, using the cheapest tools I could find. I do that every once in a while to challenge myself, to remind myself. I'm sorry, this is a long answer, but this is something I think about all the time. But I need to challenge myself, and I need to prove to myself that I could still do these projects with the basic tools. And I also need that reminder of why my fancy tools are so pleasurable to use. You can do amazing work with basic tools. Don't let my shop make you think you can't. Have you heard any good new music lately? I am really loving the new Wet Leg album. They are one of my favorite bands, and I am patiently awaiting the new LCD sound system and Hives records. Did you ever build those speaker stands for your living room? Yes. When was the last time you made a cutting board? Just a couple months ago. What does your music making process look like? Maybe a tour of your production gear and how you use it. All right, this is gonna be very boring for most people, so I am going to make it a quick 15-second tour of my music studio. So when I walk into my office, I've got my computer over here. This is normally where I edit videos, but I use Logic Pro as my DAW. I got a UA mic preamp over here. The audio interface is an Arteria. Over here in the corner is a drum set, always set up with mics. I got my 1960s Supro guitar, a more recent Reverend guitar. There is a 1960s Supro amp, and then a Fender Twin Reverb down there, drum set. And then this is what I call analog corner, all analog synths and drum machines. So Juno 106, below that is all my guitar pedals. Everything runs through a patch bay. Below that, I have, this is my favorite drum machine. This is the DRM1. And then I got a secondary cheaper drum machine over there. Below that, it's a synth I use most. This is the Moog Sub 37. And then below that, more analog gear, an old 8-track, a 2-track recorder, reverb. Over here is my Roland Space Echo with some various other things that are not hooked up at the time. Best advice for someone trying to become a woodworker. And I know I'm part of the problem here, but don't get too caught up on what you see on YouTube. Who you see on YouTube, you see them much further along in their journey. And it might get a little overwhelming seeing all the tools and stuff they have. There's some great YouTubers like Steve Ramsey who still focus on beginning woodworking and minimal tools woodworking. I have a huge collection of books. I use it for my inspiration. I use it for fact finding. I use it for research. Have you always considered yourself artistic, or did you find that you uncovered your artistic learnings through other types of work? I ask because I can't draw myself, but really enjoy following instructions to make something and seeing the end result. As such, I don't think of myself as artistic. All right, I think the term artist is something that you give yourself or other people may give you depending on how you look at it. Instead of using the word artistic, let's focus on the word creative. I think it's a more of a universal word that we can understand a little bit more. You can be creative when designing something to make in a wood shop. You can be creative in engineering. You can be creative in figuring out what to make for dinner. We're all born creative. It's just some of us use that creative muscle a little bit more. Some of us focus on that a little bit more. So you're making something, whether it's digital or physical, you're making something that wasn't there before. And that's pretty freaking cool. That's the win right there. What is your favorite type of wood project to build? I actually, and it's not good YouTube content, but I actually like making small little things, something I can finish in a day or two. My favorite part of any project is the beginning, the design process, and at the end, the completion, the satisfaction of making something. And it's pretty easy to get those little wins with small projects. Now, when I work on a bigger project that takes weeks, the payoff is much greater. The satisfaction is much greater, but it's a lot more work. How is the go-kart world doing? Are you still racing? Haven't seen any updates on that. So over the winter, I sold my whole go-kart rig to my buddy Clay, and I have officially retired. It is a time-consuming and stupid expensive hobby. You can only have so many hobbies. With the new format on the channel, do you feel like woodworking is fun again and not the 9-to-5 that you were feeling? Absolutely, 100%. I like changing things up, and I feel a little bit more artistic, and I'm scratching that creative itch with the new style. If I run into you in public, is it cool to say hi, or would you rather be left alone? I actually like that question. It's insanely rare I ever get recognized in public, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I secretly enjoy it, especially if I'm like with my wife or family and somebody comes up and says, hey, I like your videos. I just feel like a freaking rock star. Yeah, it's cool to come up and say hi. Plus, makers love talking to other makers. So I am weird and awkward and I have lots of anxieties in public, but yeah, come up and say hello. If you could go back and do anything different in your woodworking YouTube journey, what would it be? I think it would be trying to find my voice and figure out who I am. I have 9,000 comments on my most recent video. It's full of toxic bigotry. Not gonna lie, it's getting to me. I hate this. I hate this so much. There is no place for hate anywhere. So Lee has a channel called Busted Knuckle Woodworks. And to be honest with you, Lee's videos get way more views than I do. And so he is dealing with this way more than me. So it's gonna be hard to give good advice on this. And by the luck of the draw, I am who I am. He is who he is. We're from different places, and people are just mean, and there's no room for that. There's no room for hatred anywhere. So, here's the thing. Lee's channel is it's basically in its blow up phase, and what that means is I'm in a steady phase. Maybe steady isn't going down. We're gonna fix that. But my viewers are a lot of viewers that are returning viewers, and so you can have a YouTube video. You can have a YouTube channel where there's part of the audience that comes back and watches the videos for you, and then you have viewers that just stumble across your channel. And it's usually the ones that are just stumbling across your channel are the ones that don't know you and that don't watch you for you. They're the ones leaving the mean comments. Again, Lee's videos get way more views than mine. You should check it out. They're good videos. Here's a trick that I do for myself, and it might not work for anybody else but me. But first of all, don't read comments when you're in a bad mood or you're depressed or you're sad or you're not feeling good. That's a terrible time to read comments. It's just going to enhance those feelings. when you do read the comments, here's the thing that I do. I tell myself, I'm not gonna let the comments get to me today. I'll actually say that, like a weirdo. And for whatever reason, it flips the switch in my brain and I don't get affected by the comments. Again, I'm not getting the super hate like you might be getting. God, I hate that so much. But yeah, I just trick my brain into not getting upset. Some YouTubers don't read their comments at all. And I think that is healthy for them. I still read every single one of my comments because I like seeing how people react to my videos. This is a long answer. I'm sorry. This one, it's just because this one affects me. So, where was I going? What did I, when I put a lot of time and energy into my video. I care about the thing that I'm making. I also care about how the video looks. And so I want to see what the reaction is. And I accept good and bad. I accept constructive criticism. Sometimes a comment might look like it's being rude or mean, but it's just somebody saying, I would do that different. And they're not trying to be mean. They're just saying, hey, I would do that different. And tone is lost in the comments. But yeah, your channel's doing amazing. Figure out what works for you. Fight best. What you want to do is you want to find somebody else in your situation and somebody you can talk to and get this stuff out and have just. Damn it! Why are people so mean? Don't be mean. Don't be mean. Be better. How have you seen the maker community change since you first got started, and do you think it is better or worse? By far, the maker community is much better. The more, the merrier. I think, when I first got started, there was, you were a weirdo if you were in your basement tinkering with wires and wood and whatever, trying to get things to work, and you had nobody to talk to. And now there's all these online communities, there's these in-person communities. I think it is so much better. You can find like-minded people. It's only gotten better. It's only going to get better. The more, the merrier. I'm a history teacher and a longtime fan. Do you consider yourself a teacher? I have thought about this, and I don't think of myself as a teacher. I might teach some things, but I don't consider my air compressor just kicked on. I'll wait. To be a teacher, I think you have to have students, and I don't consider my audience students. Although I hope you learn stuff. I hope you're also entertained. Mostly what I want from my audience is to be motivated, encouraged, and inspired more so than teaching. That being said, I have had thoughts of doing teaching, like one-on-one. If you could be a background musician in any band, what band and what instruments? I'd want to play bass in Jack White's band. What do you want from your audience? What could we do that would make the most difference to you? All the YouTubers, they've got merch and paid communities, and they're asking you to like and subscribe. To be honest with you, the biggest thing that you can do is click on a video when you see the thumbnail for the first time and watch all the way through. That signals to YouTube that you like that creator and that you watched the video all the way through. That signals to YouTube that that video was good. Honestly, that is more important to me and probably most other creators than anything else. Merch, signing up for, Patreon, liking, subscribing, commenting, all that. If you love a creator and you want to see them succeed, watch their videos all the way through. When is your album available to stream? Well, I've recently started posting unfinished songs up on Bandcamp. I haven't finished a song in years. I'm not really good at finishing songs. All the music that you hear in my videos, they're pretty much unfinished songs. What is your favorite subgenre of metal music? Whatever this is by the Moist Boys.
on a Sunday watching TV. You're sure as hell to see a picture of me.
What are your top 5 favorite non-fiction books? I don't know if I have a top 5, but I most definitely have a top 3. Rick Rubin's The Creative Act. This is my Bible. This is my favorite book of all time. I am on my 3rd read through. David Lynch's Catching the Big Fish. It's about catching ideas as they float by. And then Seth Godin's The Practice. So I typically listen to audiobooks, and if an audiobook changes the way I view something or changes my path, I will buy the physical book and read the physical book and take notes. You can see my Rick Rubin book I'm going through and I'm taking lots of notes. Same with the David Lynch book. And I haven't done the physical read of The Practice yet, but that is up next. I remember you saying you are a huge F1 fan. Who is your team and driver? My wife and I are both huge F1 fans. I got into F1 a few years ago after watching the Netflix series. So I got in on Lando Norris's rookie season. So I picked him as my driver since we were both getting started in F1. And I picked McLaren, his team, because McLaren has a big history. And so McLaren, Lando Norris. Kelly likes Ferrari, and I'm drinking water out of her Charles Leclerc mug. And then last year, for our 10-year wedding anniversary, we went to COTA to watch the F1 race in Austin. What happened to Cam or Dan? Check this out.
Tied for 58.
All right, college baseball, Indiana, Michigan State. Take a look at this. Jack Frank fouls off a pitch, out of play to left, and the cameraman.
Oh!
The cameraman, obviously no glove, one-handed grab, clutch. That was very impressive.
That was Cam or Dan. What is your favorite hanging single bulb electric ceiling light design? The boob light. That dude was setting me up for sure. Best ways to prevent tear out with a router. 2 ways. First, route the end grain first, so that when you go do the long grain, the end grain doesn't blow out. And second is do it in multiple passes if you can. Go almost all the way full depth with your first pass, and then do a nice light finishing pass. You won't get any burn marks, and it will reduce tear out or clean up the tear out that did happen. Does your love for music influence your woodworking, and does your creative process for woodworking and music come from the same place? Absolutely, they come from the same place, without a doubt. I wake up every day living, breathing, creating stuff. Whether it's drawing something on the computer, drawing something by hand, woodworking, photography, video making, it all comes from the desire to create something that wasn't there before. How do you keep yourself motivated? I struggle with my ADHD and sticking with projects when I either get overwhelmed or I need to order something like a router bit. I don't want to downplay your ADHD for sure, but I feel like I struggle with a lot of the same things. I am constantly overwhelmed. My brother, who's sitting right here, probably thinks I'm the weirdest person in the world because we can't start a new project unless this shop is crystal clean without a speck of dust anywhere. I like to start fresh. Starting fresh helps me. When I hit a roadblock, I need space and time to think, or I need to sit on it. I start projects all the time and never finish them. I've got 3 projects right now. The suitcase project, we started filming that months ago, haven't finished it. The Casio keyboard project, we started filming that months ago, haven't finished it. I don't know how to answer your question, except I also struggle with that, and I don't know how to answer it for myself.
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. So, thank you. Okay, there's been a lot of questions about motivation. How do you stay motivated? What motivates you? I think our phones and social media have had quite the impact on us. I feel my motivation go down too. And what I'm learning is just flipping through social media all day exhausts your brain more than you think it does. And so when it comes time to do something actually productive, you've already had your 50,000 dopamine hits for the day. Now it's just time to rest, right? So I think our phones and not being bored enough has really affected everybody's motivation. For me personally, I've been trying to use social media less. So I've removed Facebook and Instagram from my phone. I still look at them on my computer when I have time, but I try to look at them a lot less. I also, every single morning, very first thing that I do is I go for a 30-minute walk. No headphones, no music, no podcast, no audiobooks, just me and my stupid thoughts for 30 minutes on a walk every single day. I keep reading over and over again that humans aren't bored anymore, and that is starting to hurt us. We need to have downtime. We need to have quiet time. We need to have nothing to do. You can start by, sorry to talk about this. When you go to the bathroom, don't take your phone with you. When you're waiting in line at the store, don't pull your phone out of the pocket. Be bored. Do you ever travel to speak in groups? I don't leave the house very much. I am a very socially awkward person. I have a lot of anxieties and I'm super shy. So I don't leave the house much. I've always been this way. That being said, my podcast, I have an audio podcast with Jimmy DiResta and Bob Clagett. We're scheduling our 500th episode to be live in front of an audience. And that will be the next time I go out. But as of, I mean, sometimes I go out to get groceries, but now I can get groceries delivered. What are your thoughts on the new Superman movie? I rarely watch what most people would consider blockbusters. I don't watch Marvel movies or DC movies. I'm an independent movie type of guy. If it's got a bunch of effects in there, it's a big no for me. I'm super snobby and picky. Somehow my wife puts up with me. How do you handle multiple hobbies like playing guitar, woodworking, making videos, and still have free time? I don't have free time. I actually don't enjoy having free time. I like having something to do at all times. So drawing on the computer, woodworking, photography, playing guitar, making music. If there's free time, that's good creative time. And I know that goes against being bored. Like I said earlier, I need to work on myself. Why do you let your beard get long and shaggy when you know Kelly prefers it short and neat? Greg, how do you know that? When it comes to relationships, I think it is important to push boundaries and buttons. Have you ever thought about what happens after death? Every day, all the time. This is the perfect last question. We're going to talk about the goodwill table in a second. I need your input. This is for the next video. But the last question comes from Master of None. What is your exit plan? That's a good question. I want to do what I am doing as long as possible, and I want to transition into being an artist. A recent trip to the Salvation Army, and I got this table and this table. This was $7.99 and this was $5.99. I am more drawn to this. I think there's more opportunity to do cool stuff with this. So I'm gonna set this aside unless there's something about this that could be incorporated into this. But I am looking for any suggestions that you have. I want this to be like an interactive thing. Like, okay, so-and-so said we should cut off the legs and make new legs or flip the legs the other way. So everything is possible. Imagine there are no limitations. What are you thinking? So the cool thing about this is the glass on here pops right out. We could reuse the glass. We could put decals underneath the glass, or we could make a brand new top that falls right into that insert. Could be acrylic, could be epoxy, could be wood veneers, could just be wood. I'm looking for any ideas that you might have, and we are starting with this project next week. So you don't have a lot of time. So any suggestions? That is going to wrap it up. I look forward to hearing your thoughts, As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, and make something.